So starting the recording. And we're live. Welcome back to the Nelson, ladies and gentlemen. I'm posted by Callum. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'm here with Mr. TotallyTettey and Mr. Jim Mac 247. Thanks for being here, boys. So, I think we are all feeling like Chris Reeve on his deck chair at the moment, as Jack can present with his beautiful background, because we have just come off the back of a fantastic win against Nottingham Forest, 2-0. Jack, what are you thinking?
Yeah, another great victory. Obviously now it's 9 in a row. It's unbelievable, and it all felt very too comfortable, to be honest with you. I mean,
training game.
It reminded me of the playoff final against Middlesbrough. The 2 early goals, and afterwards nothing else happened. But we had no worries. We controlled the game perfectly.
Yeah, and Lewis Graben was involved as well. Very loose connection, but there was.
Well, to make another connection there, both sides in the playoff final and yesterday both wore red as well.
Yeah, and Ben Gibson was in the playoff final. Obviously not playing. So I'm just making weird connections. But as far as the game goes, it was very, very straightforward. I was a bit worried at first with the team sheet because, as you boys will remember, in our last one, we were discussing who's going to come in. Will it be Dower, will it be Rupp? They both started. We weren't expecting Mr. Buendia to not play, but it all made sense after the news broke. And we obviously congratulate him very highly. But for the first time since Buendia's been at the club, we didn't miss Buendia. We looked comfortable. So that was a revelation in itself, wasn't it, James?
Yeah, I'm really happy with it, to be honest. I think I can probably speak for every single Norwich fan here by saying that, as we said in the preview the other day, knowing Houghton's type of football, we were with the typical parked bus. Nobody I think was really nervous, or we all know what to expect from it really. I think everyone's nerves properly kicked in without seeing Buendia, but the fact that I think everybody stepped up really well, of course, with Lucas Rupp getting 2 assists. And I think just to add to that, I think I saw a stat on Twitter, I think by NCFC numbers, so I've got to give them a shout out. That's where I got the stat from. But it said something along the lines of apparently Lucas Rupp is the first player to get 2 assists in one game, that traditional number 10 role, since Houlihan since August 2015, where he got Wes Houlihan got 2 assists away to
that's fantastic. Traditional
Sunderland.
Number.
So I think everybody stepped up that game massively, really. So I've got to give them praise for it, really. So we
have to put some respect on his name. He hasn't really put much of a foot wrong at all this season, if I'm recalling it. Nitpicking at all, I remember the Derby game, I think it was, where he gave away the free kick, which obviously led to the goal. I think that was it. But even in that game, he played pretty well. It still seems like some people still aren't on board yet. But in the Championship, this guy is a very, very decent player and would get into most people's teams. We're really lucky to have him, and he's really shone. But as did Dowell with that fantastic goal. He was warming himself up with that early shot. Jack, what do you think about going into the next game? Because we've now got to possibly drop someone, and this has been a huge debate. I've been thinking about it all day.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's one of those where we're all glad we're not Daniel Farke, because he's got obviously a difficult task in his hands, and you can't not play Buendia. I mean, I'm hoping he's available come Saturday. We'll find out tomorrow, I suppose, in the pre-match presser. Buendia goes straight back in the team. It's a tricky one, but try not to be too biased with Rupp. He's had a brilliant game. Dow's had a brilliant game, and obviously Catwell's been pretty decent as well. But if I'm honest, I'd say bench Rupp and start Dow. Dow coming in the middle. He's impressed his first start in 2021. I don't know. It's a difficult decision.
I can definitely see your point, and I wouldn't complain if that happened. I'd personally go with keep Rupp in the number 10 because he did so well, and just put Buendia on that right because you can't drop him, which is obviously so harsh on Dowell after such a fantastic performance. But it's a good dilemma to have, squad depth, and it's something that I don't think a lot of other teams in the Championship, maybe Watford, have a very, very good squad, and Bournemouth do as well. They're probably underachieving a little bit this season, but James, we're in a really lucky position with this squad this season, aren't we?
Yeah, I think to be honest, a lot of the players that I think with the squad we're in a lot more stronger position than we were. I think the last time we went up and we won the league last time, and I think the position we're in at the minute obviously states that already, with the fact that we're 10 points clear of Watford in second, and then 13 points clear of Swansea in third, even though they've got a game in hand. But
Yeah.
I think what's essential for, whether you like Lucas Schropp or not, what was essential about him having that half season with us last season, even though he was bad or quite under par.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose everybody was in that half season, but that, I think, allowed him to kind of settle in a little bit more. And to be fair, that's been the same for quite a few players, really.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, it's stuff like that that's kind of allowed us to push on further as well this season. But yeah, I think we've also got a couple of players here, Josh Martin as well, who he hasn't had a lot of game time for in quite a long time, but has contributed, and other players
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
list as well that have
Absolutely.
also contributed as well. So I think we're in a very good shape at the minute. So
Yeah, that squad. And you made a good point actually about Rupp arriving in January, because I remember, I think it was the 2017-18 season in January that Onel Hernandez arrived. He didn't do too much in his first few months. We saw flashes of, what he could do. It was the next season, 2018-19, when we had the memories of, Birmingham, Forest, and Middlesbrough away, all the good Onel Hernandez moments, Ipswich at home, of course. So sometimes it just takes time for that player. And, I think that was a great point. The extra 6 months did him really well. And obviously a player we're always going to have to bring him up was Teemu Pukki. I mean, that was a really good finish, really, and it just shows the form he's in. And all the doubters, and throughout the season, I've been wondering. In fact, maybe earlier on in the season, I was thinking, is this the same Pukki? Is the same Pukki that we had a couple of seasons ago? And he's now just showing, when he's in red hot form, you can't really stop him.
yeah, I think the best thing about it is the fact that it's like the team are properly, I feel as though we're only just going into the next gear now, when it really, really matters.
Yeah.
So that, of course, I think our last 5 games, which I think come after, will definitely come after the international break, after the games this weekend. Our last 5 games are all against teams in the top 7 or 8 at the minute. So
Yeah.
the fact that I think the team have not gone up a gear at the moment, when it really matters, to keep that 10-point gap between us and second at the minute is crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. Jack, I'll ask you this one. Obviously, we're of an age where we can't remember every single Norwich City striker, but is Teemu Pukki the greatest ever Norwich City striker?
He's up there, definitely. Obviously, with the likes of Grant Hull, going back, Chris Sutton, Ian Roberts. Obviously, we won't remember the ones in the 70s and 60s, but in terms of, obviously, transfers, he is probably the best we've ever had on the free as well. I mean, we all thought Grant Holt was a bargain at 450k we signed him for. Puki's a bigger buy, and Pukki just edges as a better striker than Holt for me, definitely.
Yeah, I agree, and the fact that I think it might have been, well, I think it was Pukki's 50th goal against Wednesday on Sunday, where that made him the quickest, I think this century anyway, the quickest player to get 50 goals in terms of appearances for a striker. I think that beating players like Dwight Gale and Jordan Rhodes and everyone else, really, which is a significant number of goals to get. I think he got 50 in 75 games, and then Dwight Gale only got 50 in 84. So he's been an amazing signing. And on top of that, I think I saw something saying that since he signed in August 2018, he's the top scorer since in that time, and that's also including not even spending a whole season in this division, which is something that's really shows how crucial he's been.
Yeah, I mean, look at Statman James today coming out of all. Love it, absolutely love it. So in our next game, which is Blackburn, what do you think Is it that we change? We've spoken about who do we drop and all that. Is it that we go to it with the same approach? Are you expecting a hard game? Are we all going to be shocked? Because at the moment, it just feels like we're on cloud nine.
Yeah, I mean, as I think we should obviously stick to the same plan how we've always been. I mean, obviously, we try not to get too carried away with how many games in a row we've won, and obviously, it could potentially be 10, which I believe is our best, ever in our club history. And but Blackburn's a funny one because on paper they've had a good team and their attack is really good with the likes of Adam Armstrong, Harvey Elliott. But they've only won one in the last 11 games, which dare I say it again, a lump of Norwich once again. But
are we past a long time Norwich now with this team? I feel like this team is maybe too good, and if we lose it, it's just our own fault. I'm happy now, but we seem to be getting rid of the along come Norwich curse, and I was worried against Sheffield Wednesday.
I think some people like to still bring it up because it's always been a part of us. But I mean, at the moment, we've gone past that at the moment, so
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a few Norwich connections. Elliot Bennett being a Blackburn Rovers player, Bradley Johnson, a Blackburn Rovers player. Super Tommy Tribal will not be able to play, will he? Because he's still our player.
Daniel Ayala as well. He's injured.
Absolutely, yeah. Good research there. And the key one for Blackburn, obviously not a Norwich connection, but a player a few years ago I actually wanted Norwich to sign, and I think it's a very good player, Bradley Dack. He has just obviously got an injury that will rule him out for the rest of the season. Is it another cruciate ligament injury?
I think it is, yeah.
It's another one after just coming back, so absolutely no luck with him. And such a talented player and such a weird injury as well that so I kind of came out of nowhere and could have. Oh yeah, as you can say, Blackburn fans are going to be really disappointed and disheartened. It's a huge part of their team that's now got a weakness. Obviously, Harvey Elliott has got the talent, but can he carry that Blackburn team by himself? I'm not sure. James, what are you seeing for this one? Do you think it's going to be a thrashing, or do you think it's going to be a bit similar to the last time we played Blackburn? And it was a win, but it was a hard fought win. We had to really fight for that one.
Is this at Ewood Park or is it Carroll Road?
This was Ewood Park, I believe, wasn't it? Yeah, Ewood Park, the last one. Yeah.
I mean, I would say we've got a home advantage, but that home advantage is not really there without the home fans, really, is there?
Yeah, we are still playing really well at home, but we are also playing well away. So,
I think I would like to lean towards a thrashing, but this is a good opportunity for a lot of Blackburn's backup players or side to kind of maybe step up the mark.
Definitely.
I can't remember where Blackburn are in the table, but I think they're around mid-table. But I think it's one of those things where we've got to be on our game still, I think. Because I think we can all agree that we were all expecting the Forest game to be much tougher than the Wednesday game last Sunday.
Oh, absolutely.
And I suppose you can say the same for today, where on Saturday, when that we're all probably expecting Forest to be maybe better than Forest was or something like that. But it's the sort of thing where we can't take our last result against Blackburn for granted, really. Because it's been a long time, and whilst they've got most of their best players injured, like I said, we've got all those backup players going to be really wanting to kind of perform well to kind of try and get their their names cemented on the starting sheet, really. So
absolutely.
I just think we've got to keep focused, really, and then keep pushing, kind of be a little bit aggressive on the attacking front, really. But
yeah, I agree. I get you, and it will actually. I do think them not having Tribal will be a big miss because I've watched him, and whilst Tribal hasn't been obviously a creative midfielder, I mean it's more of he's a defensive midfielder. That's what he does. I do think Blackburn look like quite a solid team with him in there. So I do think it's a loss the fact they don't have him, and we do know of Tribal's abilities, and hopefully it does make their midfield a bit weaker. The fact he can't play. And something that we are obviously all a bit excited for at the moment is, because we fingers crossed, unless there's a bigger slip up in the world, we're going to be getting there. Premier League recruitment. There have been a couple of links this week with a couple of players floating around. Obviously, we can't say how realistic they are. There was a striker from Schalke I saw we were linked with today, Matthew. Hop or Hope, however you pronounce it, and also the Paderborn player Sebastian Schonlau. I think that's how you pronounce it. Is that Jack? Are you taking these with a pinch of salt at the moment? Is it too early for transfer rumours?
Yeah, too early, definitely. I mean, these days of Norwich, with our recruitment since Farke's been in, it's got to the stage where most of the time we won't have heard of these players. I mean, unless you're a football manager whiz like Jim Jam, for example. But but no, I mean that's the beauty of it. Sometimes you don't know who they are, and obviously, I mean, I knew of Pukki when he signed for us, but quite a few Norwich people fans never really heard of him, and obviously it's worked out well. But then again, you've got dare I say, Sabreni, like none of us really heard of him. Obviously, didn't really work out for him. But yeah, I mean, mid-March, definitely too early for transfer news.
Yeah. The one that did it, obviously we don't know how strong the link is, so I understand that completely. Sebastian Schonlau, how you pronounce his name, I think he's a centre back, the defender from Paderborn. I've seen, obviously there is a bit of a link with us and Paderborn. We got Srebeni from there, didn't we? And we then sold him back there. Rupp played for Paderborn. Rancic played for Paderborn, didn't he? And I've read somewhere that Daniel Farke's son is actually in the academy there, so maybe there is a bit of a link between the clubs, and I'm sure there, with the people we've got at the club, there is obviously that knowledge of the German market. So it will be interesting to see how a Premier League recruitment differs. Will it be going back to Germany, or will it be going maybe even further afield, like going to Argentina, South America, where these new opportunities may open because of the Brexit rules? Or will there be some domestic signings? I mean, James, is there a player out there, obviously, that can be as unrealistic as we want here? Is there a player you want to see Norwich City sign in the, realistic but unrealistic, if you know what it can be any name, but within reason, not messy.
I don't know. It's a tough one, really, because I think we've got to think about with as you say about the whole change in Brexit and everything like that. That's got to be a really massive thing, talking point for us, because really we've already got a fair few EU nationals in our side, which is it's a tough one to think about any sort of names that we might want to sign. But I think realistically, preferably, I would like to get Oliver Skip for a start on either on a loan, which is probably a pretty basic one. But for a start, I'd like to get him in, maybe for another loan at least. But I'd maybe want to get I don't know. I'm not too sure. It's a tough one, really. Maybe I think there's a certain player for West Brom. I can't remember his name. I think he's a winger or something that I might like to get, but I'll have to look his name up. But Oliver Skip is probably the one I have to answer with already.
Yeah, from West Brom. Okay. Yeah. Jack, what about you? Any names in your head? Realistic, unrealistic plan?
Not particularly names. I mean, I'll echo what James said about Skip. I mean, it'd be great if we could at least attempt to try and get him back. Whether Tottenham will want to or not, I don't know. But I mean, we've kind of discussed it before. No, it's a tricky one again with the transfers, but especially with our recruitment, obviously with Brexit being a problem with we can get.
Yeah, with the Brexit rules, I'm not the biggest expert on this, but it will be the sort of reputation of the player in the EU, won't it? So if they're play for a lot for an international country that's high up in the FIFA rankings, that makes it easier. If they're playing at a top European league, that makes it easier. Obviously, Bundesliga 2 isn't a top European league, which is where we've been to strengthen quite a lot. So teams like us, Brentford and Huddersfield, and maybe some others who have been there previously will be looking at these new rules. Obviously, in the Premier League, it puts us in a better position because we can maybe afford some better players. But I think this summer transfer window, when obviously the January transfer window that's just been was the first when people could use the new system, but it wasn't a very active transfer window. The one in the summer will be interesting to see. I feel like domestic transfers, obviously most of the transfers are domestic anyway in the Football League, but I feel like that values of English players are going to really increase because of this, and it's going to be interesting to see what the impact is. So
definitely, yeah.
Boys, score predictions.
I'm awful at score predictions.
Herrera.
That's it, yeah.
That's the winger from West Brom.
I mean, my most popular prediction is 2-1 to Norwich. I guess I'll go with that. I mean, yeah.
2-1, bog standard. James, what are you saying?
2-0 to Norwich.
2-0. I'm going to say 4-1. I'm going for it. Listen, I've got that Chris Reeve. It's just making me. It is making me very confident, and I absolutely love it. So, should we? I feel like we'll make it a shorter episode today, boys. We'll call it there with just a few talking points. If you want to get the discussion started in the comments and talk about anything we've said, you agree, disagree, obviously get that started. Links for these guys' socials will be below. I know we're expecting a new TotallyTettey video at some point, so cannot wait for that.
Double header tomorrow.
And that was a beautiful. We had a great ASMR and a beautiful shot of that Chris Reeve background, which is what we want to see. Thanks for watching.
Wait, hold on a second. Before we finish again,
we'll
just finish off quickly. On Saturday, the Norwich and Blackburn game is another pick game that's picked for Super 6 as well. Just saying.
This is like becoming a deja vu.
He's done it again.
Exact same ending as last time. And some Jimmy Carr laughter just for the end, which is beautiful. I've been posted by Callum. This has been the Nelson. It's been TotallyTettey and Jim Mac 2472, and we'll see you next time, boys.
Cheers,
Thanks
everyone. Welcome to the Premier League.